Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and in today's video, sponsored by the makers of Call of Dragons, we got to get a look at Kuma, who is honestly a powerhouse. And look, he's holding this sickle over here. Dude, the Serpent's Edge, it slaps. I'm getting ahead of myself, though. In this video, we're going to go over exactly what his skills are doing, which we talk about in the context of, okay, so like what talents do we pick? How, like what pet do we pick? How do we optimize the pet? What artifacts? All that kind of stuff, all right? So let's get started here and let's talk about why he's weird. He's weird because he does an HP drain. Now, you've heard me say many times in the past that HP is one of the better stats to get for infantry in particular, because it seems like they have defense everywhere, but HP is lower. And in this game, there's a sort of diminishing returns on stats. The less of a stat you have, the more valuable it is to get that stat. The more of a stat you have, the less valuable it is to get more of that stat. Okay? So all that to say, HP is great to take. And what does it do? Drains 20% of the target legion's hit points and 10% of the HP of enemy legions near the target for 10 seconds. And does a heal of 200 factor. Look, guys, the heal of 200 factor, technically there is healing. It ain't much. This is an HP drain. And it scales based on having lots of enemies nearby, which is perfect for infantry that run in and get themselves surrounded, which often does happen, although often what happens instead is that the infantry gum each other up in the front and then everybody shoots from far behind. You want to try to jam this guy in behind enemy lines among all the enemies, all right? Now, the Legion heals once every 10 seconds in battle, healing factor of 50, and receives an extra heal according to its current infantry hit point boost, temporary infantry hit point boosts with a fixed duration obtained during battle. At the end of the day, we're talking about another heal that is so small, I assure you, you will really not notice it. And you might think, well, all these heals together add up. No, they don't, in my opinion. Now, look, it all depends on what you're trying to do with this guy. Live or do damage. I think he's there to, like, just live. But let's keep going here. Infantry units gain defense and attack of 15%, easy skill. While on the field, this hero's legion gains 10% attack for every nearby legion that's in battle. Oh my god, up to a maximum of 100% attack. And whenever this legion defeats an enemy legion, this hero's legion gets 20% more healing for 10 seconds. You know, a small number multiplied by a small number is still a small number. So a small amount of healing multiplied by a small percent boost for a small amount of time, that piece of this skill isn't doing much. But what you need to take away from the skills we've read so far is that very, 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 very obviously, he needs to be in the thick of things, which is what you want to do with your infantry anyways. And when granting a buff via an innate skill, that's one of the 5 skills you start out with, does not include talents. This legion gains 20% hit points for 3 seconds, can trigger once every 5. All right, so if you pair with a hero who does some buffing, you can trigger this a little more frequently. 20% hit points is nice. That should theoretically modify this over here. Now, look, the interesting thing about Call of Dragons is in part that it seems to be the case that generally you just pair new heroes together. So in this game, I think it's generally pretty prudent to just get a look at, like, okay, well, you know, who came out with them and do you just pair them together? And, you know, I think the short answer here is that clearly seems like yes, that is what you are intended to do. Because Lei Kuan does 1,700 damage factor that scales with infantry hit point bonuses. Okay, like clearly these two are meant to be together, right? And the funny thing is that you don't technically need to have him as the primary, because this temporary boost lasts for 10 seconds. So even if he's the secondary, the HP boost will still be active by the time that Lei Kuan is going to go to use his active skill, and it's going to have that check to say, like, hey, are the buffs active or not? This hero's legion also deals 20% more counterattack for 3 seconds, which honestly is like what the other hero, what Kuma needs is like more counterattack. Like you kind of get that from attack. Attack is enhancing counterattack, normal attack, and skill damage, but counterattack is always solid on infantry. From there, we're looking at a sieging skill. 5% defense, 5% ignore enemy attack when you're hitting a city or a stronghold. All right, not good for field. This Legion's infantry gains 25% hit points and takes 25% less skill damage. Honestly, you have so many HP bonuses. Like, this is... I don't know if this does much for you in this pairing, weirdly, but the skill damage taken reduction is very, very solid. When hit with a normal attack, the Legion has a 15% chance to gain 5% hit points. Crazy. But there's a buff effect, by the way. And deal 2% more damage for 5 seconds, but it can stack 10 times. 10 times. So are we talking about 50% more hit points? And 20% more damage? Because that, I mean, no, this trigger is based off being hit with normal attacks. Okay, and it only lasts for 5 seconds. So, like, the thing is, you really, 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 really want to be surrounded and have multiple things hitting you. Okay? And the expertise, or awakening, is only enhancing the active skill. Okay, so if this is the pair and we're locked in, okay? And if we assume that, you know, Kuma should be the primary, and, you know, I don't know that it's necessarily true. We're comparing the support tree to the tank tree at the end of the day. And we're also comparing whether or not you want to get the HP boost before using your first active skill from Lei Kuan. After that, the 10-second duration on the HP boost is so long that, like, I think it will still be active by the time Lei Kuan is going to have his next active skill used. So that brings us to an interesting question. Like, is the tank tree actually better than the support tree? Also, are you using the PvP tree or not? And I did a little bit of testing with Kuma, but I want to just get a look at what we could do if we were to use Lei Kuan as the primary, right? What we could do is, of course, we actually just avoid the march speed at this point in my infantry builds. And your Legion gets 1% more defense, takes less damage. Great. W. I'm in. That seems good. Overall defense seems good. What can we get here? Counter damage taken reduction is not amazing. Hero skill damage dealt bonus. I mean, I guess that's what we're up to. Okay. From here, being hit with a normal attack has a chance to grant rage is amazing. But I also like taking less normal damage. This is good if you're doing Paramount Championship. This is good all the time. So I think we just take this, reduce, like, you have to live. Living equals damage dealt. When your Legion's hit with a normal attack, they have a 10% chance of gaining tough, reducing skill damage taken. That seems good. I don't hate this tree here. A defense boost and then hero skill damage reduction. I don't think that's where we're at. And boosting HP does not seem amazing. Like, I feel like we have more than enough HP already, guys. Truly. We have more than enough HP already. So I don't love getting defense with talent points and then attack. Like, guys, I don't think this is it. I could be wrong. A chance of a keen buff. When your unit count is high, you get stuff. No, I'm not convinced the tank tree has what we need, personally. I actually wanted it to. Instead, I think we look to the talents over here. And, you know, look, I've got a build where if you think you're not going to get focused, this is really good. But more likely, and I messed around with a bunch of Paramount Championship builds, okay? But let's just make a field build real quick. We reset this and we call it field, all right? And a part of this depends on your philosophy, okay? I think for Paramount, probably generating rage and doing some healing is a W. Even though I just finished saying I think healing is terrible, infantry are largely just a speed bump in Paramount. So I'm still testing builds. I'm not fully locked in. But what I did find very compelling is instead this build, where we're going to go in and we're going to say, you know, healing we find not very satisfying. Okay. And that's because I feel like when you heal, there's like a whole 0 at the end missing, like a multiple of 10, less effective than doing damage. Okay. So I think, you know, if you had a, you know, 1,000, you know, healing, you typically would have done 10,000 damage. And it's like, wait, but like it's troop count either way. Whatever. I am a huge proponent of damage, okay, as opposed to healing. In which case, we can take a hero's skill damage reduction, which I think is what we do here. We just want to get really, really tanky. If we live, we do enough damage from counters, etc. But I don't think healing received is worth it. I really feel like the quantity of healing he's doing is so low that a 5% boost there is very little. I kind of prefer the normal attack damage boost. I think I like cool-headed, okay? And then from there, we reduce the normal attack damage we take. That feels very critical to me. I think doing counterattack damage is a W. I would say this would be really amazing if it didn't have an internal cooldown of 5 seconds, but it does. And then the surrounded damage taken, extra counterattack seems good. We round things out by going up into the PvP tree. We're going to go with the normal attack damage boost, the skill damage boost, and the damage taken reduction, and a little bit of counterattack. Okay, I think this is a pretty solid build. All right, this is a pretty solid build. Could we do better? However, by going into the PvP tree, it again depends on your philosophy. I still want to test this, but I actually do think there's really cool stuff you can do in the PvP tree. So if we just reset this real quick and just play that out, you're sacrificing some counterattack to get counterattack, right? You're sacrificing a surround damage mitigation for damage. It's actually very compelling. So let me show you. We go up here. We take the normal attack damage boost. We take the hero skill damage dealt because we're going to pair with Lei Kuan, okay? We go for the counterattacks, making us more tanky. We boost our counterattack. Then we make it so we deal 1.5% more damage. Then we make it so that when we get low, we deal more damage because we are going to get low. And then we make it so that casting rage skills gives us an HP boost. Not that I think we need more HP, but look, for big open field fights, like this defense break, no one's going to even notice that it happened, bro. No one will even know that it happened, bro. Targets change so fast. It's a dynamic situation. And then we go in over here, okay? And we just round it out like so, right? So as I was saying, we're sacrificing normal attack damage taken reduction. We're sacrificing surround damage taken reduction in favor of damage dealt in an HP boost. I think you could go either way, right? We've got counterattack here. We've got counterattack there. You get a little more over here, but it's kind of an apples to apples. It's very similar. So, you know, between the two builds, I might kind of prefer this extra counterattack. I could go either way, to be honest. But I think those are sort of the feel builds that I would consider running. And I'm still testing with all of this in Paramount Championship to see kind of what I like the most. And for those of you wondering, I was the Paramount champion last time, and I don't know if I will be this time. I'm like kind of trying, but I have made it to the top 8. So, you know, I may or may not progress, but it's you know, what are your qualifications, Chisgule? Well, I mean, I went 3-0 here, 3-0 there, 3-0 there. I mean, not terrible. And these are impressive players that I'm battling against. So, yeah, man. So anyways, back on target, Chisgule. Lock in, buddy. What do you do for artifact and pet? I mean, obviously this artifact is busted. For the next 15 seconds, you gain 60% hit points and deal diffuse damage to 3 enemy legions every 3 seconds, 800 factor, and they slow down. You're slowing everybody, you're doing damage to them, you're gaining HP. Like, what more did you want, right? Oh, an additional effect. When gaining an HP buff via a hero skill, you gain 2% attack and defense for 10 seconds and stacks 5 times. So, you know, you can get another 10% attack and defense passively. I mean, it's 20% stats. That's pretty good in total. And this has attack and defense, which is amazing because you already have more HP than anyone knows what to do with. So I think this is a slam dunk. I think obviously you could use other artifacts and it will be fine. The Spirit Bone Torque is always in style, literally always, okay? So you could totally go this round and it will be super reasonable. You could also go with a shield, right? Shield has HP on it though, which like you don't really need more HP as a sort of base stat. But you can get some skill damage in and move around. And, you know, when you generate a shield via a rage skill, you get more hero skill damage. Well, this pairing's not doing any shielding, so that's not amazing. You know, technically you're doing some healing, which accelerates the cooldown of the Ancient Entanglement here, but I don't think this is really where it's at. You could totally go ground pound. I actually think, you know, on a budget, defense ground pound is a win here. I think that is a win for sure. There's probably some other infantry artifacts you could try out, but generally speaking, the goal is to avoid health because you're getting it in so many other ways, and there's diminishing returns, and you have so much it's insane. The other way you'll be getting health, by the way, is with your pet. Don't be fooled. The Moss Rock is the pet to make. Okay, this is the pet to make for open field. Okay, it's not a Venom Lizard. In my opinion, it's the Moss Rock. Why is that? Because you can be doing damage to 5 targets for the 3-second window where this is active, and you can do that every second. So it's 5 times per second. So basically you go in, you get your pet to use their skill as fast as possible, and for that 3-second window, you are roasting people. Plus you get an HP boost, okay? Separate video to follow where we talk about how and why I built this pet the way that I did. If you want to see my other video, I'll have a card in the end screen where I was doing my regenerations for this. I did not get a pet that I felt like I could rally or garrison with in Rage, but we have a very high standard here for what is worthy of a rally or garrison lead. So I've got this field-oriented pet. I did end up taking this skill to 3 stars anyways. It is what it is, and this is what I've gone with. Money where my mouth is on making the pet more tanky, and money where my mouth is on not picking up the skill that makes this do an even bigger HP boost, because I just feel like we have so much HP already. Like, I don't know how much more benefit we're getting at this point, okay? And it's funny because, like, I don't know, the damage here scales with infantry HP boost. So, like, clearly meant to be paired with this hero, clearly, right? Clearly. The Venom Lizard has a similar effect in a way, but not really, okay? The Venom Lizard is cool, don't get me wrong, but the Venom Lizard has a constraint of only triggering once per second, can be triggered once every 1 second. Okay, this is important to understand. So it will trigger all the time when you're getting swarmed, which is cool, and you don't have to have used a skill, which is very, very powerful. Don't get me wrong. I don't think a Venom Lizard will be bad, but I like having a diversity of pets in the collection. So I've got my like 1 Venom Lizard here. It's obviously fine-tuned to go with Gorish and Skogul. This was obviously something I did, I think, before the Bruin Bear even had come into the game. And so, you know, I probably would, for most people, recommend a Bruin in modern times for Gorish Skogul, but I think that the Venom here is not bad, but, you know, theoretically, if the pet has been balanced appropriately for the meta, then what they've done is they've made it so that you are rewarded for pairing with heroes that are giving HP boosts. Right? Kuma and Lei Kuan both do that. If the pet is balanced, that is an assumption that I have not fully tested. All right, but I'm going to lock in with the developers having balanced this in a way that makes sense, in which case clearly this pet's designed for this guy. All right. So yeah, I do love Venom. I think it's versatile. I think having potentially multiple Venoms in the collection that are kitted out to be versatile could be a win. This is the way I've done mine for now. I mean, this is how you know this was done a long time ago. Back when you could actually collect advanced Counter-Strike and level this thing up. Like, I have low skill versions of this still. Back when it wasn't just locked to being an end of season skill. This is how you know. Okay, this is how you know. I would love to take this up to I will probably get an end of season skill and replace this at some point, which is kind of funny. And you know, when I'm no longer using this on Goresh Skogul, I will probably replace these as well. But you know, when you do 2 counterattacks a second, increasing your crit rate here by, what are we looking at? 3% plus 4, 5, 6, 7. Like, I don't know, is this like 7% crit? That to me felt like a pretty good choice. It's possible you could get more damage from the pet some other way. I don't think so, though. Even these, by the way, are influenced, these counter strikes here. They are counterattacks from your heroes that should be influenced by these skills here. Whatever. This isn't about the Venom Lizard. It's about Kuma, who is a freaking badass, man. I've enjoyed using him so far. If you have any other tips or tricks for this dude, definitely let me know down below in the comments. And I'll let you know how the Paramount Championship goes. Maybe I win, maybe I don't. I don't know. What do other people think's going to happen? Do other people think I'm going to win? Let's see. And then we'll wrap up the vid, all right? Predictions. Okay, I voted for myself this time, by the way. Last time I didn't vote for myself, and I won the whole thing. I should have voted for someone else so I could win. Yeah, I should have voted for this guy. I should have voted for him. He's probably going to win the whole thing. He's won before. I think he's got it. I think he's going to get the W, bro. I do. Freaking goated, man. But I got some support on there. Quan also could get the W. I've been chatting with him. Dude knows his stuff, man. That could definitely happen. Yeah, it's anybody's game. You know, it's anybody's game. Enjoyed the vid. Throw a like on here. Subscribe. All of the card in the end screen that I promised earlier. I don't remember what it is, but I'll also put the last Paramount Championship up there. So you go check that one out too. And by the time this video is published, I'm recording this before I go on a short vacation with the fam. But by the time this video is published, we may have the results of this Paramount Championship. So we'll see. All right, until next time, you have fun smashing your enemies. Take care, everybody.